my name is Amanda Heidkamp, and I'm going to talk about the accuracy of the scientific findings of the news story, "This plant evolved to hide from a predator, it might be us." From the primary scientific article, "Commercial harvesting has driven the evolution of camouflage in an alpine plant." I selected the news story article from the New York Times titled, "This plant evolved to hide from a predator, it might be us." The particular news article covers the concepts of evolution that was learned in this biology course, where it specifically touches base on the topic of how species have genetically modified genes that they have adapted over a period of time due to natural selection. The news article describes the specific tricks animals can use to disguise themselves from predators to get less attention, and how these disguises are familiar to most people. Moreover, the news article is related to evolution because it covers research on the theory of evolution on a specific plant. The article focuses on the Fritillaria delavi, a small charming plant with elegant green leaves and bell-shaped yellow flowers spotted in China near the Hindwang Mountains. 65 miles away from this range, you would see the same plant with different colors, questioning if it is the same species. This poses the question on how one species can have multiple colors. Findings from the primary literature article suggest the delavi has evolved because people harvest its bulbs, and that this plant is one of the examples of species where humans have inadvertently influenced them into evolving new traits. The bulbs of the Fritillaria plant contain common medicinal ingredients used to treat coughs. The news story covers the research findings by testing 8 plant populations to judge the harvest pressure at each site. The primary literature articles that sparked the story for the news story focuses on commercial harvesting and how natural population of plants that are used by humans have likely also suffered strong pressures from harvesting, yet the potential for evolutionary change induced by humans has received surprisingly little attention. The article then goes to describe how color divergence and local adaptation for camouflage provide evidence for differential selection among populations. The article focuses on the plant Fritillaria delavi is a perennial herb in the alpine skis from the Hindwang Mountains. It has leaves only at a young age and a single flower per year after the fifth year. For this specific study, the paper measures leaf and rock colors in 8 populations in southwest China, found significant color divergence among populations in CIEL AB color space, which is a visual model designed to show human color and luminous vision. The study also investigates the correlation between background matching and potential harvest pressure intensity. Harvest pressure was estimated by collection intensity and collection difficulty. Furthermore, the article developed an online citizen science experiment called Spot the Fritillaria to test the prediction of the research. Goals of the study: the goals of this scientific research highlight these concepts throughout the article. An alpine herb used in traditional medicine has various colors in population. The degree of background matching correlates with the human harvest pressure. Plant concealment greatly influenced by search time in humans, and the color of evolution of this plant is likely driven by commercial harvesting. In order to estimate the collection intensity that is experienced by the population, the total collection amount of the plant would be divided by the relative abundance in the corresponding population. The goals of this study were to find any correlation between collar distance and collection intensity, and to test the theory that this plant has evolved over years of collection by humans to hide from us. The other goals intended to prove the natural selection by wild herbivores of this certain plant were not a driving factor of the evolution of the Delavae. It has been observed that in this study that no animals have been feeding on the leaves or the bulbs of the plant in any of the 8 populations of the plant. Moreover, the Fritillaria species are rich in an alkaloid chemical defense, which are commonly known to effectively deter herbivores from consuming this plant, which is another factor that supports the hypothesis that anthropogenic impacts have a big impact on the color evolution of this plant. Findings and conclusions: as predicted, the findings from this experiment support that the theory that harvest pressure from humans has greatly influenced the evolution of the color of the plant, and that even when other factors contributing to the plant evolution, harvest pressure is the selective driving force of evolution. There were other efforts made to ensure that findings of this plant evolution was not due to potential natural herbivores. The harvest activity from the collectors from this experiment has influenced the adaptive evolution of the plant color that ultimately intensified phenotypic divergence. With this, it is expected that there are many other analogous examples of humans being the driving force to evolutionary change in coloration in the wild. Accuracy of the news story: is it accurate? Yes. The New York Times article is an accurate story that covers the topics from the primary literature article, which was a complex scientific study that explained the research and experiments to discover the human impact of the evolution of this plant. The news story is a short and concise narrative that conveys this research in a way for the public to understand with ease. The news article quotes the findings of the scientific article, where it mentions the findings suggest that the plant is the latest example in a growing list of species that humans appear to have inadvertently influenced into evolving new traits. As the news story continues to explain the methods of the experiment in the scientific article, It concludes by stating the study makes a fairly convincing case that humans are driving the camouflage of this plant. The article poses the same questions of the scientific article, what if this plant enemy is us? These claims made in the news story are accurately explaining the findings of the scientific article, where it states that our findings are consistent with harvest pressure as the selective driving force, color evolution in this plant. Overall, this was a good primary literature source to spark a news story that effectively portrayed the concepts of evolution to the public in a news story, and it is important information to know due to the fact the Chinese plant has valuable ingredients harvesting for medicinal purposes. The New York Times article takes the initiative to include research including Yang Niu and Ilya Zachary, a professor on ecological genetics at the University of Liverpool. Overall, the New York Times article was an accurate story that conveys the important study taking place in the primary literature article by highlighting the key points and findings from the scientist research in the original article that inspires this news story. This is my works cited page. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation.